Hi, and welcome back to Irrational Programming. Today, I want to speak to you about the difference between using functional components and class-based components. Last week, I spoke about how I was basically learning about how to use React using class-based components and how we were able to structure our files where most of our state and methods should be in the highest level component, which would be the app.js, and then passing down props or the state through the props down into the other components. So that was how we structured, or how I learned how to structure my application. And so all week I've been writing a lot of this.state, this.props everywhere, and basically going through the fundamentals of React. And so now I'm now learning about how to turn my class-based components into functional components. So by doing so, it allows us to initially, normally when we have state within a class-based component, that's the only area we can use state. However, we can't use state in functional components. So this is where we use useState, and this is where we are able to see why it's so beneficial, because with useState, you can use state inside of a functional component. So I've been learning how to do so, and basically all you do is you bring in useState as a hook through React, and by doing so, you're able to define the actual variable of state. So initially you have this dot set state, and then you basically change the state of what it is you're trying to change. So if it's text, for example, and it's an empty array or an empty object, so you may want to put information in that object. So you would write this dot set state dot text, and then obviously change what the state is, whether it's a Boolean, whether it's null, whether it's false, true, or it's got some text in there, or you're bringing in information from an API. However, with useState, you can define the variable. So it will be set state for text. So it will be set text. So it's far more easier to read and manipulate and understand, because you understand that you're changing the state of text, and that becomes its own variable. Also, I'm learning how to use useEffect. So we bring in useEffect as well through React into the functional component, and we use it as a replacement for being able to use life cycles inside a functional component, whereas you could only use it inside of a class-based component. And basically, it's far more easier to write also. However, there is a little caveat of the, well, I'll explain. It's a replacement for using a life cycle. So once your component mounts or dismounts, or then you can use it as basically an event listener for something else to happen on that page. So having useEffect, it's far more easier to write out and understand in a functional component. I think personally, it was just more streamlined, and essentially just gives you that ability to write life cycles within a functional component. So it's been great learning about useState, useEffect this week, and I look forward to learning a lot more next week, because I do have a few questions which I think will be answered, which is hey, we've got all this state everywhere, we've got these props everywhere. It's in each component now because we can use it in functional components. So will it not get messy after a while? Will I not have, what have I got, 10, 15 components, and I have all this state everywhere and all these props everywhere? It's just gonna be hard to manage. So there is an answer, and I'll be back next week or maybe sooner, to discuss how this is tackled in React. So thanks again for tuning in to Rational Programming.